Welcome to Forum 360 on Fusion, your PBS channel. This is Leslie Ungar, your host today. Thank you for joining us for our global outlook with a local view. Empower everyday citizens. In today's world, that could mean anything from politics to climate change to paying college debt. Today's show is about empowering everyday citizens in a different way, and in a way that everyone can embrace. Every age group, every ethnic group, every religious group, and every political group. Sudden cardiac arrest can happen to anybody, and it can happen whether or not there's an emergency responder around you. It's a community-based issue that requires a community-based response. In no other medical situation is there such a vital reliance on the community. We are going to look at a free mobile app that, as best as I can understand it, unites the 57% of US adults who say they've had CPR training with people in sudden cardiac arrest who need a trained person and they need a defibrillator. There could be 1.5 million PulsePoint users around you at any minute, but how would you know? Our guest today, Joseph Natko, who is both District Chief of the City of Akron Fire Department and EMS Bureau Manager, is going to explain the problem and the technology to us. Welcome to Forum 360 viewers and my guest.
Thank you, Leslie. I'm glad to be here.
You know, I heard about this a few months ago, and it sounded so interesting and so needed. But before we get into PulsePoints, I'd like to find out a little bit about you.
Okay.
Is that okay?
I've been with Akron Fire for 28 years now. I started as a line firefighter and paramedic, working the fire trucks and the ambulances, and gradually rose through the ranks until I reached my current position here of EMS District Chief.
Now, where do those intersect? Can you be a fireman without being EMS? Can you be EMS without being a fireman? Where do those intersect?
The City of Akron requires that all of our firemen become paramedics.
Okay.
So we do a dual role. The 911 call comes into a station, and our personnel can either jump on a fire truck and go out and do fire suppression, or they can hop on an ambulance and go out and make a difference medically to somebody.
So you don't just wait for fires?
No, ma'am.
And how long, do you know, how long has that been that you're trained in both? We
started with paramedics in Akron Fire in 1978. We introduced that. And since that time, our numbers have just continued to increase and grow. The number of 911 calls towards Akron Fire. Last year, we saw just over 47,000 calls for a combination of EMS and fire suppression. 89% of our calls are EMS based. So we go out on those ambulances far more than we go out on those fire trucks.
Now, when we start to look at PulsePoints, before we look at what it actually does, can you share with us some things that you've seen in the past that kind of encouraged your interest in getting people that do CPR together with people in sudden cardiac arrest? Like, how often, when you get called, is there a statistic for how often are you just too late?
We see approximately 200 cardiac arrests a year in the city of Akron. And those are cardiac arrests that somebody can make a difference on. Not a situation where it's too late for us. These are situations where we actually will work on a patient, transport a patient to the hospital who has been a victim of a cardiac arrest. So those are incidents that we feel people, civilians, can make a difference with if they knew CPR. So often folks are hesitant to get involved or hesitant to do something for fear. Am I doing the right thing? Should I get involved? We've the past year and a half, we launched a citywide campaign to teach civilians CPR. It's called hands-only CPR, where there's no certifications involved. It is a much simpler and streamlined course than what folks are used to seeing in the past. And we offer it at many public events. The rubber duck games, we're out there teaching it there. The soapbox derby. Anything within the city of Akron borders is kind of fair game for us to set up a table, invite people to learn hands-only CPR. It is a very simple process. It's not like the CPR of past. So we encourage a lot of folks, and in turn, we encourage folks, once they've seen that, to sign up for PulsePoint.
Now, PulsePoint will be my next question, but I'm curious, when you talk about going out into the community, you wear a uniform, but do you find that people react to you differently than an officer in a police uniform? Is there a difference with how the community sees uniforms, or do they see them all the same way?
I think any uniform gives an official message. There's somebody here in a uniform, they're going to help. And I think the fire service, with its EMS broad base, is just, we're there to help, to save the day, to make a difference. And that's what folks look to us for.
So you've got 200 people in the city of Akron that go into cardiac arrest, and someone can get to them in time to save their life. Now, from there, can you take us on a journey where you first learned about PulsePoint, and with your experience, how you think PulsePoint can help?
Okay. A year and a half ago, Akron General Medical Center, came to us with an idea of introducing PulsePoint to the public. We looked at it for a while and studied the program, and collectively we decided on the fire department it was a great idea to sponsor. So we partnered with Akron General on introducing that to the public. If you can envision a cardiac arrest occurring to somebody, somebody collapses from a cardiac arrest. They're not breathing anymore, their heart has stopped, and somebody picks up a phone and dials 911. There's a time span. They get to a phone, they dial 911. That goes through the processing of a call taker taking the call, somebody dispatching rescue units, and travel time for the fire department to arrive on scene, figure out where we're at, what we need to do. And you can lose 4 to 6 minutes in that time span from collapse until you see a rescuer on scene to lend a hand. And that 4 to 6 minutes is when it's a critical time towards that patient. Studies have shown that for every minute that there is no heartbeat, the chance of resuscitating that person decreases by 10%. So 2 minutes, a 20% reduction. And you do the math, after 10 minutes of no help, after 10 minutes, it's almost 100% chance of no survivability. CPR, chest compressions in particular, have been shown to make the biggest difference. Early chest compressions. So that means somebody there quickly, a civilian there quickly, most times, because our units are coming, but it takes time for our units to get there.
So then, to me, that leads the question, who then is qualified to download that app to say, I'm someone that can help? What if, let's say, I have an overinflated idea of my ability? Or maybe I have the ability when I'm doing it in a classroom, but maybe when it really happens, maybe I don't have that ability. So who do you want to download this app?
We want everybody to download the app. We find that having that information on hand leads them to get the training.
Okay, so I'm looking at it backwards. I think I should have the training before I download the app. But you're saying I should take out my phone right now and I should download the app.
Yes, ma'am.
How interesting is that?
Yes, ma'am. if you have that app on your phone, next time you see us at a public event advertising, here's how you do CPR,
Okay.
you're going to be more apt to jump in and say, okay, I know why I need it. Let me see how I do this.
Well, I'm going to go through, download that app, but then does that render my next question obsolete? Because I was going to ask you who should not download the app.
The app, downloading the app doesn't mean you have a duty to react. It's a choice on your part. You download the app, you put it on your phone, and you choose whether to receive notifications. You can turn those notifications off for a period of time. If you choose to receive those notifications, you would get a notification if you were in a certain geographic area of a person who had a cardiac arrest in a public place. And then you would decide, do I feel capable of reacting? Am I close enough? Can I make the commitment here to do something? So it's a very choice-driven situation. If you don't react, nobody knows. It's a very personal decision. If you do react, we tend to try and get the information from you, but it doesn't mean you're obligated to tell us that you did anything.
So could 100 people react to one? Could they respond to one cardiac arrest? If 100 people, say, are at a Cavs game or something, could 100 people react?
That could very much be possible.
And then what happens?
The area is a quarter mile from an event. So if you were to put an event here, a quarter mile around it, anybody that has that app would receive that notification if it was in a public place. And then if 100 people were to react, the first people on scene, presumably, would be the ones to jump in and lend a hand. Others could choose to relieve them. The act of performing CPR can be physically exhausting if you do it correctly and you do it long enough.
Now, I would assume that, and again, I'm just assuming this, and you know what they say about people that assume that being trained in EMS, being trained as a doctor, that you're trained not only for saving someone's life, but you have some training for the times when you can't save someone's life. A citizen that's trained in CPR that goes to help a situation and let's say gets there too late, what resources do they have to draw upon for how they deal with their, quote, failure?
That's a very difficult question. We would try and steer them. We could steer them towards different resources to maybe come to grips with what they feel they didn't do right or couldn't do right. But the majority of the time, we would thank them and encourage them to do the same thing the next time, and the next time, and the next time. We feel that any effort is going to make a difference.
Now, okay, hold on to that thought for just a moment. I'm going to reintroduce our topic today. We are really talking about sudden cardiac arrest and how Akron and the greater Akron community the citizens can help. And our guest today is District Chief Joseph Natko, who is telling us about an app everyone should download called PulsePoints, and that's where we are right now. What about the legality? If I take a CPR class and if I answer, am I legally responsible for anything that happens at that call?
You are generally protected by what's called a Good Samaritan law.
Oh, okay.
So if you do something that somebody who prudent, the next person beside you would do in the right situation, you're protected. And if you're doing CPR according to how it's instructed, and you're doing it correctly, you are protected. And that is a genuine fear of people of getting involved, right?
Sure.
And maybe too much so.
Sure.
It's easy to walk by and not get involved. Sometimes it's difficult to make that decision, to stop, take the time, make a difference. We've seen it happen We've seen it happen here in the city. And this is where we're reacting to. We're reacting to just within the city of Akron. This is a national program. It's not just for the city of Akron. It's a national program. Fire departments have to sponsor it, though. We have to put it into our dispatch center so the alerts go out to the public at the same time that the arrest is called in, the cardiac arrest is called in to dispatch. That's how the information is put out there.
You know, when the way that I look at it, if I see a dog that is loose, that looks lost, I always try to stop and get the dog, okay? Yeah. Which drives my husband crazy.
That's
but
all right.
I always say, I would want someone to do that for my dog. God forbid my dog got loose, I would want them to try to get him. And it's kind of the same thing. If we want someone to do it for us, then we kind of have to look at, right? Are we doing our part for someone else?
Great analogy. What would
Thank
you want someone...
See, I always get told my analogies are so bad.
No, but you are right on point. What would you want someone to do for your child, your sibling, your parent, your loved one, your friend? What would you want? You would want someone to help if they could make a difference.
Yes.
And walking away, not trying to help, not trying to make a difference, that's just so, it wastes an opportunity.
So a person listening or watching today would go to either the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, and they would just install the app, right? Akron residents or workers should select the agency Akron Fire as an option, and then what?
You have agencies across the country that you can select.
Okay.
If you follow Akron Fire, when you're within the city of Akron, you would get these alerts. So you choose to follow Akron Fire. After that, it'll take you to the next thing. What notifications do you want to receive? Okay. You want to receive CPR notifications, so you would check that box.
Okay.
There are many notifications down that list where you could receive an alert for, such as a fire, a building fire. You could be alerted to a building fire. But the whole point of the thing is you receive a notification when CPR is needed within a quarter mile of where you're at.
So it moves with me.
It does.
So I don't technically live in the city of Akron, but I could still download this for when I am within the city of Akron, and it would tell me when someone within a quarter of a mile.
As a matter of fact,
yes.
If you download this and choose to follow Akron Fire, it's going to show you all of our events for the entire day. Over 120 events, you'll see a list of them come across your phone. You'll see medical event, structure fire, car accident, and you'll see the whole list of them. And it won't give you specific addresses because we're trying to protect the health and the well-being of our citizens that don't want to share that. So it doesn't show you, it doesn't dial it down right away. But when there is a cardiac arrest in a public place, it will give you that specific address, and it will dial you right into it. It will show you where the AEDs are at. If those AEDs have been registered with Akron Fire, we'll put them into that app as well, and it'll give you the capability of obtaining an AED if it's in that near vicinity.
Which is a defibrillator.
It is. It's an automatic external defibrillator. They are, posted on walls and all kinds of public buildings, and having the knowledge of how to use one is important. But having the knowledge of how to do CPR is the first priority here.
Now, you gave us a statistic of 200 people cardiac arrest, but since you first were a fireman, can you compare that to us? So how does that compare to how many fires, let's say, are in the city of Akron in a year? Do we know?
The number of fires are 10 to 15% of our total run volume, whereas 85 to 89% are EMS related.
But does that mean that people are doing a better job of not creating fires in their homes? Or are people just doing a worse job of needing EMS?
No, they are doing a fantastic job with fires.
Are they?
And part of that is towards prevention of fires. Think of what smoke detectors have done and how they have alerted the people to what's going on in their home.
So if there was one thing that you would want anyone listening or watching today to do from a fire protection standpoint, before I ask you from an EMS standpoint, what is one thing you would want them to either start doing or stop doing to make their home safer from fire?
Put a smoke detector in your house, multiple smoke detectors in your house. Make sure you change your batteries on a regular basis and maintain them.
Okay. Now from the 85% of the time that your people are being used for some kind of medical emergency, it could be a wide variety of medical emergencies, so I'm not sure if this question is fair, but is there one thing that if your magic wand worked, you would want either the citizens to start doing, or one thing you would want them to stop doing that would help you help them save lives?
I think PulsePoint is right up there. It's right on the forefront of helping us to help them. Having that early alert, it helps bring some of the right resources to the right problem. We've got many new programs out there that we're sponsoring and looking at. We're doing a community outreach with helping people in their homes before they call 911. We've just started that this year, where we're out looking to see, is there something we can do for you? Can we get you to a particular resource in order to help you in your home? Some people just don't know who to call. They know to call 911, but do they know where to get to other resources? So we've just started that. Asking us for help, that's okay. We like it when folks ask for help. That's what we do. Always picking up the phone and calling 911 is you know, it's not always the correct way to try and seek help.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because yesterday a doctor, a hospitalist, was telling me that staying in a hospital is not always going to make you better.
Right.
And so it's kind of the same thing, and you're telling me, so you're saying that we need to be more proactive in our health.
Yes, yes.
And safety.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yeah.
In the remaining moments, I'm going to ask you a few questions, kind of like a lightning round, and I'm going to ask for 1, 2, 3 word answers or so. Okay. I'm a big fan of Northeast Ohio, so I always ask my guests, what do you think is one of the best things about Northeast Ohio?
Oh my gosh,
Besides PulsePoints.
No. I love the changing seasons. One makes me appreciate the other. I really do. I like it cool, and I like the color. Yeah.
And is there something that you think would surprise people about Northeast Ohio that weren't from here or hadn't been here?
What would surprise people about Northeast Ohio? Probably the wide array of parks that we have in this area and what they bring to us. It's a resource.
Now, as a citizen and a fan of Northeast Ohio, are you Swenson's or are you Skyway?
Swenson's.
Swenson's, okay. That's a very important question. Did you always want to be a firefighter?
I think I always wanted to help. Being a firefighter, the awareness came to me later.
And are you presently at a station or at a firehouse? Or do you, I have a reason for asking this question, but are you administrative? Are you not at a station, or are you at a station?
No, I am not at a station. I am in an administrative building, and we run the fire department.
Well, the last station you were at, can you picture that?
Yes, I can.
Okay, here's my burning desire to ask you, did you have a dog? Did you have a Dalmatian?
No dogs.
Did you ever in any of your stations, or is that a myth for citizens like me?
It's a myth.
Is it really?
It's a huge liability factor.
Oh,
Yes.
so disappointed to
Yeah.
know that.
No, I'm a dog lover.
But not at the station.
No.
Wow. Do the firemen cook their own meals?
Yes, they do.
Now that's not a myth.
No, they fund their own meals. They go out and shop every day for the food to cook their meals. So you'll see them at the local stores picking up groceries, and they'll have somebody cook the meals for the day.
Okay, so that part's not a myth.
No.
Okay, so one is, one isn't. As someone that has been involved in some way in saving lives, what would surprise us about your role in saving lives that the average person wouldn't think about?
that all of us have a family, and we take a lot of this, and we carry a lot of this. Some will call it baggage. I don't look at it like baggage. I think it makes us who we are. But we take a lot of it, and it affects us. We think about it. So I don't think most people really would grasp that.
No, I think you're right. I do. I know, yes, from my own experience that we tend to forget people are human underneath their uniforms.
We're professionals, but we're still human.
We're still human. PulsePoint was started by a fire chief in California that saw a need and saw technology to fill that need. Imagine a diner at a table in one room in a restaurant that could be saved by a diner in another room if they only knew. The goal of PulsePoint is to increase the possibility that a victim will receive CPR quickly. This app uses the current location of the user and will alert them when someone in their vicinity, a quarter of a mile, needs them. Everyone should download PulsePoints. Thank you to our guest today, Joseph Natko, District Chief, City of Akron Fire Department and EMS Bureau Manager. Thank you for joining us today on Forum 360.
Forum 360 is brought to you by John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, the Akron Community Foundation, Hudson Community Television, the Rubber City Radio Group, Shaw Jewish Community Center of Akron, Blue Green, Electric Impulse Communications, and Forum 360 supporters.